Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Brady from hard rock band ENMY.
All roads lead to the bottom, shotgunning along for the ride. Living a life spoiled rotten, eats you from inside. Bones cracking under the pressure, living a broken life. You tangled us here together in your web of lies. Running your mouth all the
I just wanted to get into some background about how you got into music, what age, and do you play any instruments?
I have a little bit of a part in like working on songs when they're pre-pro. In previous bands, I've done like auxiliary keyboard, which is not like I don't play a huge part, but it's mostly just like ambient stuff. So that's kind of transferred over into our writing process for my current band, and yeah, I mean I mostly just sing. So
When did you start getting into playing in bands?
um, so I was kind of a late bloomer, I guess. I guess it started in like late grade school, early high school. I was doing a lot of like theater acting type stuff because I have ADHD and I had a lot of extra energy to put towards things. So I think my teachers and my parents were looking for an outlet for that. And yeah, one of my friends that was in like part of theater with me, I think he was like two grades beneath me. He was like, "Yeah, I've got a band." I was like, "Oh man, that's really cool." And one of my friends reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, I've got a cover band. We're gonna play a few songs for homecoming. I can't play and sing at the same time, so would you want to like sing for us?" I was like, Sure. Never done it before, but as long as we have a few practices, it should be fine, I guess." Um, and then that kind of got the ball rolling, and I was just like, man, this is like actually fun. There's people like paying attention to it. It's more interactive than like theater is, because you can like play off of the crowd and everything. Um, so yeah, I mean that was my start, and then I linked up with a metal group, um, and it was actually a pretty funny story. The drummer, I was the first one to practice at the drummer's house, and he was like, it was like kind of awkward because I never met him before, and he's just kind of got a different personality. And he was like, "Yeah, man, so like, can you like show me some stuff that you sing to?" And I was like, I don't really know, man. Like, if you wanted to play something, I can sing along to it." And he played, I don't remember what Green Day song it was. I was just like, such a weird audition, but I was like singing along to it, and he was like giving me pointers on how to sing to Green Day. I was like, I don't think it's like a strict science to accomplish that, but sure. But yeah, I mean, I've been in like probably three, maybe four bands now, and just kind of like working out the different members and making sure everybody's on the same page. Like that's a big part of it is like you're in a relationship with all these people, and you have to make sure that everybody gels and everybody wants the same thing. Um, and I think that's the cool part about this group that I'm in currently is everybody's on the same page. We all like the same style. We all like are going in the same direction. So that's like it's really cool. Like whenever we're working on something, we're like, maybe if it was a little more in this direction. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, of course." It's not like, well, I kind of want to be in a reggae band. I feel like that's when you're like first getting started. There's like a whole bunch of different personalities. There's like one metalhead. There's one dude that's into reggae. There's one guy into pop. And it's just like, what are you doing? But yeah, I mean, along the way, like jumping from group to group, that's how I met our bassist and our drummer. And our bassist just came back. Well, it's been a few years now, but he was in the Navy, so he was in San Diego, and he was like, "Hey, I'm coming back in town. Like, I want to hang out." I was like, "All right, cool, man." And he was like, "Hey, I've been talking to Kevin, the drummer, and we really want to get a group together again." I was like, "Man, I'm like kind of taking a break from it." And he's like, "Yeah, okay." I was like, "All right, fine." Like, that's how it's gonna be. He knew. I was like, "Man, I'm just a glutton for punishment." Like when you're doing local stuff, like that's how it starts out. It's just like super grueling. Like you don't feel like you're making any progress, and then once the right people come together, it like it starts taking shape, and it's like, oh, we actually have something here. Um, and yeah, our guitarist, he had played in a few cover bands. He had played in some original bands as well, like metal stuff, along the lines of like Avenged Sevenfold. And he had sent me links to like different songs, and I was like, yeah, like sounds pretty good. Like, what are you like? Who are you going to record this? And he was like, oh, I'm doing this at home. I was like, oh, okay, like yeah, I'm interested. And so I brought those two groups of people together, and ever since then, it's just been off to the races. Like they're just solid at what they do, and I'm stoked to be a part of it. So that was the short version.
Do you remember the songs that you played with that high school group for that homecoming?
I know we played Blitzkrieg Bop. Um, I think we played. So I went to a Catholic school, and we played like Reliant K. I think we played Blink 182. Um, man, I think we did there's a Weezer Britney Spears mashup that we did, which was kind of cool. Um, and yeah, I mean those are the ones that I can remember pretty well. I think they had like one or two instrumental songs as well. So, but yeah, it's very eclectic. I was just kind of like laughing to myself before I got on here with you. I was like, I was listening to Unwritten Law, and it's kind of like West Coast, like I don't know, it's like pop punk, I guess, but like old school pop punk. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I've just always kind of been into that realm of things. I've just kind of dabbled all over. Just like I listen to a bunch of different stuff, and if it sticks, it sticks. Like I just like catchy stuff. So
Now, what state is your band based out of?
we say Cincinnati, just because two of the members were from Dayton, Ohio. One's from Xenia, one was from I don't know, Dayton area. But he just recently moved to Northern Kentucky. So the guitarist and I are both from Northern Kentucky, and we just like the middle point is Cincinnati. So it's just like, yep, this is where we claim, because it's like the middle point, and it just makes sense to. And it's like when you say you're like, oh, where are you from? Northern Kentucky. Like what? Like where? Like what part? You're just like Cincinnati. And they're like, oh, okay, Cincinnati, cool.
When the pandemic hit and all live music stopped for that whole year, what did you do during that time?
So with the nature of our setup, we just all kind of like we use voice notes a lot, or like our bassist would help with writing some guitar parts and whatnot. So he would always send us stuff, and then I would play it on my computer, and I would record a voice note, and I'm like, all right, this is what I'm thinking for this verse or this chorus. Like I'm just thinking like, oh, this is like a catchy hook that we could put in here. So we all kind of like gravitated toward that. And then my guitarist was obviously sending stuff that was like leagues better than what we were doing, like rudimentary stuff. He was like, "Oh, I've got this idea." I'm like, "Okay, that sounds sick. Like, when can we get together?" Um, so it was all just kind of like stockpiled ideas, and we're actually still doing that right now. Like, all of them have they have their prior commitments and whatnot. So they're like, all right, like put some stuff in the Dropbox or send it through the chat, and then I'll work on it when I get home or whatever. So yeah, we're still doing that, and I don't think that'll change. But there is something to be said about like getting together and like working on stuff as a group, because then you have like, I don't know, it's nice to like have a jam session and like work out ideas that way, but also like sitting down on a computer and like, hey, what did you just play? Like hit record on that. So that's nice to like be able to pick apart stuff where like most people are just like strumming along to whatever, and you're just like, oh, I really like that. And they're like, what are you talking about? I was just like messing around. I have no idea. And so they're like rehashing ideas that they weren't like subconsciously playing. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, we just used voice notes and um, met up when we could, and you know, once everything started to die down, yeah, that was it's like okay, we've got a bunch of stuff that we can work on. So that was a plus.
After the lockdown lifted and live music was back, did you notice like a new energy in the crowd when you played out?
Yeah, I mean, well, it honestly like the we played a headline show recently, and like our crowd has always been like pretty rambunctious, pretty wild group. So like it was nice to be back. Like it was like nothing ever happened. In terms of like crowd response and everything, like it was really cool to be back on stage and to show people. Well, so um, we actually worked on a whole bunch of new stuff. We like completely blew up our Spotify, all of our online stuff, and we had like probably 6 or 7 songs ready. So we are like, okay, as soon as we come back, we're going to be playing new stuff, and we had already released it on Spotify, so people knew what was out there. But it was cool. It was like we had never stopped, and everybody was singing along to brand new songs that we were just playing live. So it's pretty sweet.
Lost the will to go on, so I put it in a song. Does it get any better? Will I just get it wrong? I'm searching for something that I may never find. Can I find the answer before I lose my
You released Deceiver in June 2021, and there's some really awesome lyrics in there, like where you're saying, I'm cleaning up the mess you left for me. It's just. Now, do you just sit down and write a story, or do you take pieces from different songs, or how do you come up with those lyrics?
Honestly, a lot of the time, some of the stuff will come to me, like the lyrics I did for Demon Eyes. Like I want to say that the song was written around those lyrics. It like started out with like I was like, dude, what if we had like a chugging part? It was like demon eyes, who am I in your eyes? Just because it was like a cool little like thing, and I think I came up with that in the shower. I was like, oh man, I gotta like get out of here so I can write this down. Um, but yeah, I think you know when you're just driving or when you're in the shower or whatever, you're just your mind wanders and you start like thinking of things. Like you're obviously like I think everybody does that. They're just like thinking about different situations they've been in or things that they would have said or would have done, and you know I think that's where some of my lyrical inspiration comes from. It's just like oh man, like and how can you say it in like the coolest way possible? Um, and like whether that's using metaphors or just like stepping outside of your normal comfort zone and being like, this is what I would have said or what I will say or that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, for Deceiver, like cleaning up the mess you left for me, it was just like, you know, it was a previous band that I was in, and it's like, it was like partially directed at some of the members, but also partially at um, So we were signed at one point, and the the record label like screwed us over. So that's why I was like taking this break, and I was like, man, like, where do I even start? Like, where do I even begin? And like I felt like every step that I took, it was like met with some like pushback. So I was like, man, like what? Like I have to do all this work even to get to the point where I was before or feeling comfortable. So where I can like, start doing this again. So it's like, that lyric came from that situation. It's like cleaning up the mess you left for me. It's like you put me in this bad spot, and now I have to like work my way up to like even begin to start again. So it's like working at a disadvantage. But yeah, I mean that whole thing is like I feel like a lot of my songs, like lyrically and vocally, like I'll is a lot of like that frustration, like trying to work out of that hole or that dark space in your head where it's just like, man, is this even worth it? Is this even like viable? Like, is this? But at the end of the day, it's like this is what I love to do. This is what the rest of the guys love to do. So it's like, you know, like what else are you gonna do? You know, just make music. So, and it's a healthy outlet as opposed to a lot of other things. So, but yeah, it's like it's definitely like music is the one thing that makes me tick. Like it's the one thing that's like that means the most to me. So it's like, yeah, I gotta keep doing it.
You released Damn August 2021. Now, you talked about doing this ambient stuff with your keyboards and stuff. Is that one of the songs you were referring to?
Yeah. So like every once in a while, it'll start out like my guitarist and I will have an idea. It usually starts out with like some simple like progressions. Um, and then once we get into the studio and we work with our producers, Nick and John, um, they kind of flesh out things a little bit more. I'm like, man, I've been listening to a lot of like dark synth. I've been listening to a lot of like cyberpunk stuff, and like Mick Gordon type stuff. So I'm like, dude, if you can have any kind of like modulating, like bumping, like synth bass, like I'm really like into that at this point. So if you could like tweak what I've already got into something that sounds like that, they're like, oh, for sure. And that's what I like about working with those producers is like they're on the same page. Like as soon as you reference something, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's sick. I know exactly what you're talking about." So yeah, I think we found some really good guys to work with, and yeah, they definitely help incorporate and add to some of the stuff. They're like, "Oh, what if this note changed?" And you know, and it's you gotta have to. I mean, you have to be open to like critiques, and you have to be open for other people's ideas because they've been recording bands for a long time now, so it's like they know what they're talking about, like they know what sounds good. So yeah, I mean, just like bouncing ideas off of them is always like a great thing, and it can only get better. Like we're obviously bouncing ideas off of each other in the group, and then you have that outside opinion where it's like, okay, maybe you shorten this part, maybe you make this part longer, maybe you go right into the chorus on this part. So it's cool to see all that stuff take shape. So
Was that like one of the producers takes on that song where at the end where you're saying before I lose my mind and you hold that note, was that something they came up with?
so I was holding the note out, and then I think they were like, you know what? I like the sound of that. Just hold it as long as you can. So now, like, there was a show that we played, and I was like, dude, my lungs hurt. Like, it's like I was just holding it for as long as I could, and I was like, dude, I think my lungs were on the verge of collapse at one point. I was just like, man, this is like it's like I had to pull the mic away. I was like, "Holy shit!" But yeah, no, it definitely adds to it. It's like a cool effect, and we got like the layered part from my bassist who does like backing vocals as well, and it's like a really cool little effect or added component to it. So yeah.
Is there an album in the works right now? Is or do you plan on releasing singles?
I mean, singles have been working so far. We've just kind of been like working on stuff as the studio time is available, because they're super busy. But I don't think that's out of the equation. And we're just going to keep doing. Uh, like right now, we're sitting on a few songs. I don't know if I'm allowed to say how many or what we're working on, but I think at some point, like obviously, like these songs will release like do an unreleased song with an album or something, or you know, I don't think it's off the table, but um, I have been enjoying like the constant flow of just like releasing songs every once in a while. Because people are like, oh, cool, like a new thing that I can listen to. Because I feel like, I don't know, like people will get burnt out just listening to like a single album. I mean, some people do. But like I'll listen to albums all the way through, and I'll just like if I'm really into it, I'll keep listening to it until I'm burnt out, and then I'll revisit it like months later or whatever. But yeah, I think we'll probably keep doing singles until we have enough for an album, and then probably release some unreleased stuff on that. So yeah.
Do you have any shows coming up in the future?
We're actually working on a few that are like national shows coming through our area, um, and we're waiting to hear back on some of them. But they're pretty cool opportunities if they go through. But yeah, I think that's what we're working on right now. I know we have some stuff that we're in the like pre-planning stages for 2022. So I know that we've got dates booked, and I think there were a few other like groups that were named on the list, but we're gonna see how that stuff pans out, and hopefully it does. I'm itching to get back out there and play as much as possible. So
Where can we get a hold of you guys at? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter?
all of the above. Yeah, we've got a Spotify page. We've got Facebook. It's ENMY. I think. Let me check the. I haven't actually. I don't think I've ever actually looked it up on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/enemy music for our Facebook page. But yeah, we tried to get on every social platform that we could, just to extend our reach as far as possible. We've also got a Patreon page, where we're releasing like some of that unreleased stuff that we have yet to put on Spotify and other streaming platforms. So our patrons can like hear stuff prior to it being released. So sometimes we'll give like tablature, sometimes we'll give sneak peeks of just like audio files. Sometimes we'll release artwork, sometimes we'll release like album artwork. So yeah.
That's all the questions I have. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys check out our stuff and enjoy what you hear, definitely share it with some friends and family and people that enjoy this kind of music. I know for bands that are getting started out, it may not look like we're just getting started out by our numbers on Spotify, but we're very much. I mean, we've done everything up to this point ourselves, and we just recently got a manager and booking. So it's been a push to like get to this point, but stuff like this, like you having us on here and people sharing our music is what pushes us to be able to do more stuff. So if you like it, definitely support and share, and we appreciate it.
So I'm cleaning up the mess you left for me, and I'm full from all the lies you fed to me. You can live the dream or live a lie. Do you want something without meaning? If we don't go anywhere when we die, then what do you believe? Seals your fate, it's too late. You can't get